Hi, did you just say that a user of your application will not be able to share a news feed with a friend that doesn't currently play your game or application?
Yes, where am I making eye contact?
Right.
Hey, yes, so the changes will be such that when a user is posting a story to their stream, they'll only be visible to other users who are playing that game. And that playing the game is something that we define using something that will evolve, but it's correlated to usage similar to how the bookmarks are.
So the only new user channel is going to be requests?
Requests and the discovery stories.
Hi, I'm Mark with Click Nation. We make RPG games, and we noticed that a number of our players actually play a number of similar type of games, like RPG games. Will you in the future consider opening up the newsfeed so that people actually see similar type of games that they enjoy playing in terms of discovery, in addition to what you've outlined today?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I think in general, that's aligned with the overarching philosophy, which is like news feeds should be relevant to the audience that is the viewing audience. And if we invent something that is like a gamer coefficient or a gamer category weighting that enables us to make our newsfeed more relevant to the users that are viewing it, that would be in line. We're not working on that right now.
Hey, how you doing? Just to piggyback sort of on what he was saying, I have some friends that play games a lot, and I know right now I can sort the newsfeed based on the friends, but not so much the content right now. I have like a friend of mine named Alina who plays one particular game quite a bit. I'm very interested to see the content about her family and her children, but not so much about the game she's playing. Is there any thought to being able to sort the newsfeed in the future instead of by the person, but by the content that they're showing?
So I can talk about this from the games team's perspective. So we launched a test, some of you may have seen it in the wild, where in the games dashboard. So one of the things we didn't talk about here are changes to the games dashboard. We think the games dashboard kind of sucks right now. But we think these changes are more impactful, although more subtle, and there will be a wave of innovation around the games dashboard. One of the things we did test, we don't think is quite ready for prime time, is an embedded stream in the games dashboard that filters the content to the games that you're actually playing. So we can take a look and see, oh look, these are the bookmarks that this user cares about. Here's those games filtered down to those streams, so that the pivot is around the applications and games you're using instead of around people. And that would be more of an embedded experience in the games dashboard that we're still iterating on. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Want to follow up?
Yeah. And one thing that we're trying to emphasize here is that this is a set of infrastructure changes that kind of gives us a base from which to go on, right? So we're not doing all the features here that we think will be possible. We want to see what direction we should go in going forward. So, I mean, going back a couple of questions, someone asked about, can you now not publish a newsfeed story to all of your friends? What we found just in kind of looking through all the use cases was that the most important use case and the one that people were trying to do most of the time was share it with other people who are having this relevant experience and context. Now, over the long term, I mean, we may end up making it so that we may end up adding more features so that people can broadcast this stuff more broadly. But this is kind of the base, and we think that this level sets things in a pretty good place. And one other thing that I'd add on top of that is that we did a lot of testing of this to make sure that this kind of balanced out to around where we were before. So if some of these things seem like they're pretty big swings, I think they're big swings in terms of now people who want to play games will see a lot about games, and people who don't want to play games will not see a lot about games. But on the net, because so many people want to play games, this is actually today, at least in terms of our testing, it's pretty neutral in terms of what we expected to happen for the ecosystem. And we think that that gives a pretty good base for us to start from and then build more things on top of that from a much healthier place.
I just want to add one thing, which is Jared mentioned the discovery stories, and you saw a screenshot or a mock-up of what a discovery story looks like. But that's a great way to engage new people to play your games. If I know that two of my friends are playing a particular game, that's actually much more relevant to me than any information that they might post from that game if I haven't started playing it yet. Because the information they're posting has no context to me. I don't play that game, I don't know what it means. But the fact that two of my friends are playing the game means a lot to me, because that's something that I might want to participate in. So the discovery stories are going to be an important part of the user acquisition distribution channel.
Jim Young, Sixbooks. Could you talk a little bit more about the discovery stories and when they pop up? So is it just the first time that your friends start playing the game, or every single time they pop up a newsfeed, the people who don't play that game, instead of seeing the newsfeed, they see the discovery story again?
So I can. It's important to point out that these things will be evolving, but the first set of changes will be based on someone installing your application and playing it for an amount of time that we consider merits the fact that they were actually engaged in this game. This will also be controlled by the user's privacy setting, which there's a privacy setting for games and applications that you can apply a custom privacy setting to, like show this to everybody except my boss. Unless my boss is, well, maybe. Anyway, but in general, the line of thinking about surfacing the interesting content based on your friends, and maybe it won't always just be like installation, maybe it will be that your best friend, but just balancing it out so that we're making sure the newsfeed experience is relevant.
Hi, my name is Brisa. Are you guys working on dashboard for the Facebook credits? Dashboard for the Facebook credits?
Dashboard for credits? You mean a place where users can go to see how many credits they
No,
have?
the companies. The companies can.
Oh, the companies
Yeah.
can go to. Yeah, yeah. So we're working on, so the credits team, we didn't talk about credits a lot tonight. I know many of you here are engaged with the team that's building that, and those folks are here tonight as well, so you can certainly talk to them afterwards. But yes, we're building a lot of functionality to make it easier for you to see, what's going on with your business around credits. And that will be rolling out over the next few months, and we'll continue to invest there as well. That's really important to us that we provide a great experience around that. Right now, we're going through the scaling around credits to make sure it's a great user experience, and a lot of the developer stuff is manual, but we'll automate that over time. Maybe time for 2 more questions.
Yeah, can you talk about the strategy behind free credits and giving them out, and how long that's going to last?
I'll take it, and then Mark can add if he wants to. So one of the goals in credits is to increase the number of people on Facebook who are buying virtual goods in your games. That's a very explicit goal for us, and that's a big part of the investment that we're making into credits, is to grow the percentage of people who play these games that spend money. I know that's something that we all together share, and it's something that is great for users, because when they buy these goods in your games, it makes the games more engaging. One of the ways that we are attempting to do that is by giving people an opportunity to start buying goods without having to spend money. So we've been giving our users small amounts of credits and working with you guys to make sure that they're able to buy stuff in your games with those credits, to get them accustomed to the notion that when you buy stuff in these games, it's more fun and more engaging, and you can sort of see what the payoff is before you have to actually pull out your wallet and spend money. That's something we've been doing for the last few months. We're now kind of gathering the data from that, trying to understand how many of those people that used the free seeded credits are actually spending money now after they spent the free credits, and then we'll work with you to iterate on that to figure out what the right structure is long term. We only gave these credits to people who had never spent money before, as a way to give them a kind of free trial, if you will.
I'm really glad you've talked a lot about your plan and in terms of sustainable economics. As you know, in the last 6 to 8 months, the cost of user acquisition for all developers have gone up considerably. In light of these changes with Facebook, the change that you've made, how do you see credits being rolled out, and will it be an absolute requirement in light of the cost of it takes to create a game and get it out?
So credits, from our perspective, credits are really important for users to make sure that when you buy credits on Facebook, you're able to spend them in any game that you play. One of the reasons we thought credits originally was going to be critical to the ecosystem is to give users a level of trust that when they pull out their wallet and they spend money on Facebook, that they could use that in any of the different experiences that they go to. And so that really only works in a world where all of the games are accepting credits, and we're working with you guys to make sure that that's possible. We're balancing that off against the need to build this slowly so that we can make sure that as we bring on more volume, we're scaling the infrastructure and we're building a stable platform around it. So we can't bring all of the games on at once, but we already have 170 games that accept credits, and our goal is to get to a place where all of the games on Facebook are accepting credits. We're all benefiting together from the liquidity that we put into the system when people buy credits in our games, and our ability to extract that liquidity in our own games when our users are buying stuff in our games. So the notion is that the totality of that will ultimately benefit everybody, but it does take a little bit of time to get everybody onto the system.
Sorry.
You want to add something?
Yeah. I want to add something just about the first part of the question about the cost of getting users to use your app increasing. A lot of the changes that we're trying to make explicitly balance out two curves, right, for the business of a game developer. One is the cost and ease of getting new people to use your application, and the second is the cost of and ease through which someone who's playing a game can stay continually engaged with that game. And our view of how the platform has evolved is that early on, it was all virality and kind of all getting new people to start using your applications. So much so that people would actually use virality and channels that were usually designated for that as a way to re-engage people because the re-engagement was so weak. What we're trying to do now is make it so that people who want to play these games have really good ways to have that be a much bigger part of that experience. So whether that's a lot more stuff in newsfeed, more permanent navigation, more ways for the games to prompt you when there's new stuff to do in those games, all of that stuff has this effect of increasing engagement and therefore increasing kind of how long somebody who wants to play your game will be able to do that. So that, I think, is a really important evolution for the platform, right? Because what it's going to mean is that games that are good, right, that are high quality, that people want to use for a long period of time, people now have an ability to stick with them for a longer period of time. Whereas the whole ring of fire approach of just kind of keep on growing exponentially, but have a lot of users who used your games before fall out, that is not going to work as well because if your game isn't engaging, then none of the stuff that we're doing will make it so that people who tried your game out once are going to want to keep on doing it. So that's kind of an explicit strategy that we're trying to do. We still think that Facebook is going to be the best way for games and applications and content and all these things to spread socially because that's what a social network is, right? I mean, you're seeing what your friends are doing, and that's the main way that people learn about stuff in the world. So that's always going to be true. I think if you compare this to other platforms, I think that's always going to be a huge advantage of building on top of Facebook. But at the same time, what we're trying to do is shift it more so that the higher quality stuff gets more engagement instead. And what we've done is we've kind of tweaked it and tested all the stuff out and balanced it out to make sure that the net changes that we're making are basically neutral for the system now, but make it so that people who want to engage with games can now do so in a much deeper way. And we think that that's going to just lay the groundwork for the ecosystem to grow a huge amount over the coming months and years.